Hello and welcome. My name is Cory Ahonen, and I'm the Deputy Director of Health and Community Services for Financial and Veterans Services. Since 2018, I've been the Veterans Services Officer for the town of Easton, and during a recent reorganization in our department, I became the Deputy Director for Financial and Veterans Services. Under this new role, I provide services to veterans as well as any resident needing financial assistance to maintain their housing, utilities, employment, and food security. Through referrals to outside agencies, my office will work with residents and their families to determine individual needs and program eligibility. The purpose of this program is to provide valuable information to our veterans about the benefits they have earned through service to our country. Over the next few segments, you will see informational interviews with subject matter experts on VA healthcare, VA education benefits, vet centers, VA home loans, and other service providers in the veteran community. Let's begin by discussing some local supportive services available to our veterans. What is a Veteran Service Officer? A Veteran Service Officer, or a VSO, is a municipal employee that provides assistance to veterans and families regarding federal, state, and local benefits. The VSO is an advocate for veterans in the community. The VSO's job is to help other veterans in the community learn about, apply, and in some cases, receive benefits. Every VSO is a veteran. To be defined as a veteran under the Massachusetts General Law, a person is required to either have 180 days of active duty service and be discharged or released under honorable conditions, or have 90 days of active duty service, 1 day of which is during wartime, and be discharged or released under honorable conditions, except for Vietnam I, which requires 180 days of active duty services. Any questions on this can be directed to my office. Mostly can be answered on your discharge documents, whether that be a DD-214 or NGB-22 for National Guard. Next, we'll discuss some monetary benefits and assistance. VA compensation. This is VA disability compensation, and it ranges from $152.65 per month to $3,517 per month, excluding what you will receive for dependents, children, and dependent parents. VA compensation, disability compensation is a compensation program where veterans can be evaluated for injuries or medical conditions sustained during service that can be connected to their military service, and they will be compensated for those through this program. Now, along with the VA compensation comes a lot of other benefits, including state annuities, property tax exemptions, and a variety of other benefits. But for now, to keep it simple here, we will just discuss the basic overview. VA pension is a needs-based, means-tested program for lower income asset eligible individuals, and is also sometimes known as the non-service connected pension. It's also based on age and time of service. There are also property tax exemptions for veterans, blind veterans, service-connected disabled, 10% to 100%, and they range in as they are specific to each community. The state minimums are $400 for a 10% service-connected disabled veteran to receive off their property tax, all the way up to a full property tax exemption. In the town of Easton, we recently passed the Massachusetts General Law, Section 22F, which Section 22F exempts a full property tax for a Gold Star parents residents in the town of Easton. There are also additional benefits, special monthly compensation, aid and attendance. Aid and attendance is when a veteran may need special assistance in completing activities of daily living, such as grooming, getting dressed, handling medications, bathing, preparing meals, and other essential activities of daily living. This benefit can add an extension to either the 100% VA rating or the VA pension eligible individual. Those are the two ways that you would be available, or you would have aid and attendance available to you, is if you are a 100% rated veteran, or a VA pension eligible veteran or surviving spouse. The surviving spouse can also receive the aid and attendance as well. Additionally, there is dependency and indemnity compensation, which is for surviving spouses of service-connected death veterans, right? So a veteran who died due to a service-connected disability, or a veteran who died on active duty, the surviving spouse will receive this dependency and indemnity compensation. At that point, they are also eligible for the Massachusetts state annuity, which I will get into momentarily, as well as some other benefits with the property tax exemptions. MGL Chapter 115 is a needs-based, means-tested income assistance program, and the current rates for this year are income for a single person below $2,147, and if you are a married couple, it's your income monthly before taxes must be $2,904 or less, and assets below $8,400 for a single person and below $16,600 for a married couple. Common question with this on the assets is certain things do count as assets. Any cash, savings accounts, checking accounts, stocks, bonds, trusts, IRAs, a second vehicle only. So your home and your primary vehicle do not count as assets. So again, any questions on this can be directed to your Veteran Services Officer. They're the ones who conduct the initial application for all these benefits, especially this Chapter 115, being that it's a town-based benefit and it is reimbursed by 75% each year if done correctly by the towns. The state reimburses that 75% each year. Next, we have the Massachusetts state annuity, which I touched upon in the dependency and indemnity compensation. To be eligible for the Massachusetts state annuity for veterans, you must have that 100% permanent and total rating as a veteran, or surviving spouse of a 100% permanent and total veteran who held that rating for 10 or more years. In addition, if the veteran died of a service-connected disability, the spouse is also eligible to apply. Gold Star parents are also eligible to apply on an individual basis. So if there are two living parents of that veteran who passed away on active duty, making them Gold Star parents, each one is eligible to apply. And as that benefit looks right now, it is $1,000 tax-free given through that annuity, which is twice a year, once in February and once in August, a total of $2,000 a year tax-free on top of what our veterans and surviving spouses receive to be eligible. Next, we have the VA home loan, which we go into great detail in our VA home loan segment. I will save the details for that for our expert. And we also have the Easton Veterans Discretionary Fund here in Easton. It's a donation assistance fund. It is 100% donation driven. We have quite a bit of donations come in and out of that account each year. It goes to provide items necessary for daily living and to ensure the dignity and independence of our veterans in the town of Easton. That fund, a couple changes that we made that are important to note. Upon my taking over the Veterans Department, we decided that the traditional definition of a veteran, which I talked about in the last slide, was not maybe not the best definition to follow for this fund. The aim of this fund is to help anyone who needs the most help, and a lot of times we find that those are those folks who don't meet that criteria and they don't have any other benefits. So we decided to open our Easton Veterans Discretionary Fund to adopt a local definition of anyone who's ever served, anyone who's ever worn the uniform for one day or more, If you do not have a dishonorable discharge, you are eligible to seek assistance through this directly through my office. Next, we assist with the welcome home bonus. This is, the requirements are to be a Massachusetts resident at time of entry. There are bonuses for each era served. So if you did not receive your bonus, say in Vietnam when you got home, please reach out to my office or reach out to your veteran service officer to get that information. They can help you determine whether you have received that or not and how you can apply. More recently, we have our welcome home bonuses for our returning veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan. Those are some of the larger welcome home bonuses. We see some folks receive $1,000 for their first deployment and $500 for any subsequent deployment. There are multiple factors that determine how much money you'll receive, and that is determined by your DD-214, where you served. You can use citations from medals you received, commendation medals that say where you were, how long you were there, and your veteran service officer can help you apply and provide the documentation that will prove that location. On the next slide, we'll discuss education and career counseling benefits. So, first of all, you have your Chapter 30 Montgomery GI Bill. That is payment directly to the individual, and then tuition and fees are mostly covered. Basically, the individual will get their money directly deposited to them, and they will do the disbursement to their institution of higher education. And again, that pays most of the bills to in-state school for in-state tuition. You get into some of your more expensive schools, you may find that you are not receiving the full amount to pay that tuition and fees. It's all program dependent. Then you have the Chapter 1606 Montgomery GI Bill. This is the Reserve Education Benefit, and that provides a monthly stipend to the individual student. They are probably currently serving in the reserve on a 6x2 contract, and they're receiving this benefit. It amounts to, in the hundreds, probably about $500-600 a month. They report to the school that they are attending at a full-time basis. If they're attending at a part-time basis, that amount is prorated. And I would urge you to please see your VA education counselor at your institution, your school or university, and they will be able to tell you how much you can expect for each individual situation. Next, we have a Chapter 31 VR and E program. They recently changed their name from vocational rehab to VR and E, Veterans Readiness and Employment. And this benefit will cover tuition and fees, supplies, books, parking fee, counseling, and basically anything that is needed by the veteran for them to be successful and continue in school. The only thing they won't pay for are things that they don't directly relate to your attendance at the school or your education goals or your career goals. That's really, the program is focused around career. And again, we get into these benefits deep detail in our VA education benefits segment. So next we have the Chapter 33 Post 9/11 GI Bill. This benefit covers tuition, fees, BAH, book stipend. BAH is a basic allowance for housing. It's based off the zip code of the school, so not the zip code where you live. It is the zip code of the school. And then the tuition and fees are paid directly to the school. Now, if the tuition and fees exceeds the amount, which in Massachusetts is would be based off the most expensive state school, which if it hasn't changed, that was UMass Amherst. And if the tuition and fee amounts for your school exceed that amount, that of the most expensive state school, there is the Yellow Ribbon program, which can help bridge that gap. Say if you attend a private university that is more expensive than that cap. You may only transfer this benefit to dependents while you're still on active duty. That's a common misconception that you can transfer this after the fact, or you could transfer it to your grandchildren. Unfortunately, it's only transferable to your direct dependents, your spouse, children, stepchildren in some cases. but that needs to be done while you're still on active duty, and we'll go into some fine detail about that during our education segment. Chapter 35, Dependents Education Assistance. This provides roughly $1,300 a month to a full-time student. This is usually, it's always a dependent of a veteran, but in some off cases that dependent could also be a veteran themselves. So you may only use one of these federal benefits at a time. This particular benefit is similar to the stipend program in the Chapter 1606 Montgomery GI Bill on a larger scale. These folks receive a $1,300 roughly a month. That number seems to go up each year. And it is to the dependents of 100% permanently and totally disabled sponsor, which would be a veteran. And that's for each of their dependents. So say a veteran who's 100% permanent in total, they have 10 dependents. Well, each one of those gets their own Chapter 35 benefits to use. It is limited to the number of months, and it's usually enough to complete the degree and in a traditional program. And it's roughly, like I said, $1,300 a month, that number changing each year. And those students, those dependents are urged to contact their VA education representative at their institution to apply and use this benefit each semester. Additionally, heavy on the career counseling here, we have Mass Hire Career Center. They got their DVOPS, unemployment services, resume services. They can help you, get connected to career resources and find a good connection for you coming out of the military to, what may be a good fit for you if you're looking to enter the workforce directly. Again, resources to help get yourself prepared for that as well. Contact those folks with the state. Next, we will discuss medical assistance for veterans. So, VA health care is available to all veterans who are granted a discharge under honorable conditions. This includes the general under honorable conditions. That's another common misconception. A lot of veterans also get upgraded for VA healthcare purposes only. So this is also provided that they meet financial criteria or have a service-connected disability. It's also available for all global war on terrorism veterans who have been discharged during the past 5 years. So you can attend your first VA appointment and then make sure you follow up within those 5 years and you will still be covered. We discuss the VA also in great detail during another segment as well, and you'll be able to hear much more about that. So some other benefits and services locally that are offered. Out of my office, we offer flags and markers, so you can see them in the picture here, the picture on the left. They're the grave flags, and they fit into the markers, which we have markers for each conflict from the Civil War all the way to current global war on terror, OEF, OIF. And then we also have plain U.S. veteran markers for those who may be unsure which category they fit into or which category their loved one fit into. We give the U.S. veteran, it's a beautiful marker. They're made of heavy bronze. And the markers tend to last quite a while, but the flags get replaced every year in May before Memorial Day. My office, VFW commander, Legion commander, and many of their members, along with local students, Easton Public School students come out, and there's about 40 to 50 of us go out and we do all 1,300 flags get replaced before Memorial Day so their loved ones can go honor their veteran at their grave site. Another benefit that's available is this burial at a national cemetery. Now, veterans are afforded this burial at no cost. They are given a gravestone, a flat gravestone, or another gravestone of their choosing, as long as it's accepted by the cemetery in which they are buried. The National Cemetery has the flat markers, and they're able to put the veteran's name, dates of service, date of birth, date of death, branch of service, any special medals or citations received. They can fit quite a few characters on there. It's a pretty great service, and once those are ordered, they're usually sent about 3 to 4 months, and they get installed. The National Cemetery has a quicker timeline on that, and they do direct install and handle all that directly. But those stones are also available for private cemeteries as well. They are coordinated through the cemetery directors, funeral directors, and the families themselves on the installation. To receive military honors at a funeral, the first step is always to speak with your funeral director. They usually contact the National Guard units. If it's Air Force or Army, they'll contact the other branches as they're able. And they also have resources with the Patriot Riders and other organizations that provide honors for veterans at a funeral, whether it's an escort from the funeral home to the cemetery. They do some pretty amazing things, and you see some pretty amazing tributes to our veterans by these organizations. The VFW and American Legion in town, I have a segment coming up shortly where we meet with both commanders separately, and they discuss what their organizations do in our community, how we work together with them, and what they do to provide support to the community at large. We have many other service organizations and nonprofits locally that we lean on and we lend a hand to as well. Service organizations that assist financially, they assist with mental health treatment, they offer free programs for veterans. It's amazing, you name it, and it's out there. And there's a lot of services for veterans out there in the nonprofit world. Another service that we provide advice on is getting that veteran's annotation on your license or getting a veteran's ID card. The veteran annotation on the license, that's done obviously through the Registry of Motor Vehicles, and the ID cards are done through your local military bases. If you have that 100% service-connected disability and you are eligible, or you are a spouse who's eligible, those are done at those specific duty stations, active duty ID card locations. There are various locations across the state. They make their own appointments and their own hours, so please contact them directly. There's one at Joint Base Cape Cod, Hanscom Air Force Base. There are other locations as well that can be found on their website. I also handle DD-214 requests through my office. We just need some basic information: social security number, date of birth, the veteran's name, dates served, and we are able to, in most cases, get that DD-214 either through state archives or national archives. State is a pretty instant request, and the National Archives takes, lately it's been taking upwards to 6 months or more. Something to also be on the lookout is that hiring preference for military or time buyback for local, state, and federal government jobs. Currently, there are hiring preferences all over for military veterans in the private, nonprofit, and public sector jobs. Especially your federal jobs, they're going to have that hiring preference at 10-point, 30-point, based off of your service-connected disability and veteran status. Now, the military buyback time, that's another one that is commonly requested, is in local and state government, veterans can buy back 4 years of their active duty time. Now, federal government, they can buy back all of their government time, or all of their federal service through the armed forces service that they completed. They can apply that to their federal government job or their state and local government job, which is pretty amazing. They will spend some money buying that back, but it results in an earlier retirement date, or a higher retirement pay, or however you work it out with your retirement board, whether it's your local and state or the federal government. It can definitely benefit you to look into buying back that time. And I'd like to just end this summary with discussing our veterans' greatest needs. So, it's always individualized care. Veterans are people too, and they need the same things everyone else needs, right? So I like to, when we're looking at a problem, rather than say, oh, it's a veteran problem, or it's this type of person problem, it's a problem, right? And a lot of the similar solutions we use for other situations can be used to help veterans as well. that's not to say that there aren't specific cases where veterans do need that individualized special treatment that is outside of the norm. But for the most part, I think the greatest needs are just taking that extra time to get the whole story and show that you care. Whole health treatment is huge, that mind, body, spirit. If you got a problem for each one of those things, there's a solution in each one of those categories as well. And the continuity and follow through of the service providers, that's huge. So, to start the process with a veteran if they're having an issue is one thing, but to follow up and follow through, that means, that can mean a world of difference to that person who's going through that tough time, or, sometimes what we need is that follow-up to keep us on the right track and keep us on the path to getting a problem resolved. Community support is another huge one. It's something we see a lot here in Easton. We see a lot of community members show up to our Veterans Day or Memorial Day parades. Community members show up to reflag the graves, like I had mentioned. Community support goes without saying is one of the biggest needs that our veterans have when they're coming home, is to know that they're welcomed and supported, and that they can fit back into society in their own way. And awareness and knowledge of what's available. Outreach is one of my most difficult pieces of my job, is making sure everybody hears what they need to hear, right? So the responsibility is really on all of us to spread the word for anything that can help. Word of mouth is probably one of my best ways of getting resources out to those who the resources are available to. It's amazing the amount of people I hear, they call me, they say, oh, my neighbor mentioned you, and wanted to come see what was available, or I saw this newsletter, or I saw this email, or this post on social media. So there's not one size fits all when it comes to outreach. We need to have outreach across the board. So just awareness and knowledge of what is out there is number one, and it helps me do my job. So, and I'd like to just thank all of our Eastern residents for helping me to provide the support that I am able to our veterans, whether it's through, financial assistance, or just being there for them to hear, or, showing up to a Veterans Day ceremony or Memorial Day ceremony. I couldn't do it without the support of the community. So I speak for all veterans when I say thank you for your support, and we thank all our veterans for their service. So our next guest I'd like to introduce is David Henke, the VA Boston Outreach Coordinator. I first met David as a student when I was fresh out of the Air Force and getting familiar with my own VA benefits. And I regularly see him at veterans benefits trainings, meetings, and he's a tremendous resource to our Boston area veterans. He's also a retired Army officer who speaks from his own experience as well. Thank you for making the time to be here, Dave. We really appreciate it.
Thanks,
and can't
Cory.
wait to hear more about what the VA has to offer. So just to start out, could you just tell us a little bit about who's eligible for VA healthcare?
Yeah, that's the great thing about this. It's kind of a great club to be able to be part of.
Absolutely.
And I say that in the sense that the VA healthcare benefit is phenomenal. I mean, if
yeah.
you'd asked me about my priorities in life, 30 years ago, it's like healthcare, but quickly realized, no, holy smokes, healthcare is a huge thing, and it's a big cost item too. Mm-hmm. Hey, there's the VA. I did time in the military. I was in the Navy for 10 years, whatever. Get out and can't use the VA. And personally, I have 30 years Army, right? 30 years of service, enlisted officer. Nope, can't use the VA. Why? Well, because Congress. Congress puts a limit on the amount that you can make on your income.
Oh, yes.
So basic qualification for VA is you've got to have served federal active duty. Mm-hmm. If you're Guard and Reserve, that means you had to have been mobilized. But it's that income limit that gets a lot of folks. Now, the great thing is they did bump it up here in the last couple of years. They finally got a lot better. So if you're making up around 60, 70,000, now you qualify. It used to be like 40,000. But as long as you serve that federal active duty, and then that income thing is the next major gate for a lot of folks. Now, the good thing is for people like me and a lot of other folks, there are several ways around where your income doesn't matter.
Right.
So So that was a trick, and we can talk about that a little bit too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we can go ahead and get into that right now. I mean, yeah, I think that's a good segue into.
Yeah. So, what do you do when you're, you've served honorably, and you know about there's this great benefit there at the VA, and yet you're told that you can't necessarily access it because you're making too much, and,
Right.
and maybe you're not making a lot for this area, and you get around the Boston area, et cetera, and it gets pretty expensive. But what the VA does authorize are several instances, several exceptions to that policy.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you have, here's the biggest one, if you have any kind of service-connected disability,
Oh, yeah.
Something that happened to you in service that still bothers you, whether it's either mental health side, mentally, spiritually, or a physical thing.
Right.
But if it's something that the VA classifies as a service-connected disability, well, bam, number one, you get from our cousins there at the VBA, the Veterans Benefits Administration, you start getting a tax-free check every month for a disability, depending on what you get rated at. But the cool thing, and the big thing for us on the Veterans Healthcare side, VHA, where I'm at, is that's the golden key. It just unlocks that door, because once you get stamped as with a disability of any kind, you get to use all of the VA healthcare. I had I was an infantryman,
Oh, yeah. Bumps and bruises.
Yeah, but I wasn't going to say anything until I found out that I couldn't do anything with VA healthcare unless I had something. I thought, well, I do have a couple legitimate things, or I'll check them out, and sure enough, and let them decide. And so I gave my evidence, and bam, I got service-connected disabled veteran. But the first thing that did was that it unlocked the door for me to use VA healthcare.
Now you're eligible.
The day I got the notification from the VBA that said, you are now service-connected, blah, 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 I called the VA hospital. I said, hey, am I eligible now? Because the systems are all connected, right? They said, yeah, you're good to go. And I swear I had my first appointment 10 days later with primary care. I live 2 blocks from Massachusetts General Hospital. Great place, right? I've never stepped foot in there again. Yeah. The day I got qualified to use VA and started to use VA care, holy smokes.
I use VA care myself, and I had a similar experience. I got off active duty, I come home. I lived in Abington on the other side of Brockton from where we are now.
Right.
So you got Easton, Brockton,
far,
Abington, right?
Yeah.
I went over to the Brockton campus with my DD-214, applied right then and there. I left. They said I'd get an ID card in the mail 2 weeks later, and that was that. Unfortunately and fortunately for me, income wasn't an issue at that point. I was unemployed coming off active duty during that short window. But yeah, you bring up an important point with the service-connected disability. And now we're not talking, you don't have to be missing limbs or, loss of eyesight or major disabilities, but it can be. But it could also be something that you may think is insignificant. Like you said, those bumps and bruises.
I fell out of the back of the deuce and a half trying to go play volleyball for PT one day.
Yeah.
And I tore my Achilles, whatever.
Exposed to loud noises
tinnitus is like the number one thing. Anything to do with hearing loss. And hey, you're in the military.
You write it off.
If you're around engine rooms on a ship, catapult, if you worked on carriers, or flight line with the Air Force, of course, anything with the Army and the Marines, stuff blowing up, all those kinds of things. Anything that might still be bugging you legitimately, the back pain, knee pain, something that might be legitimately related to service. Yeah, you put that in. Because again, number one, not only do you get that tax-free payment, but then that's if you haven't been able, if you weren't eligible for VA care, you're automatically, that's your gold card. It suddenly opens the door for, lets you get in to use all of the VA care services.
And that's the tip of the iceberg, is getting that VA claim in and getting the healthcare benefit. There's so much more that comes with that I get into in the VA benefits side of our program here. There's property tax abatements. There's all sorts of benefits to getting that first service-connected disabled.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, even living in the city of Boston, I've suddenly found out that there are special things. Or hey, looking for jobs. Let's say you're moving around or you're shifting things and want to check out another career. Well, hey, service-connected disabled veteran, a lot of, particularly for government jobs.
Hiring preferences.
Bumps you right at the top of the list.
We talked about the education benefits as well to that. But so, being that Brockton campus is right in our backyard, basically, what are some of the services that you could speak to that would be very important for veterans to check out at their hospital?
Yeah, so again, we're talking about healthcare, and again, I was an infantry guy for 30 years, so most of my surgeries were done with the backside of a bayonet or whatever, or Gerber pocket knife. But no, so when I got involved with VA, of course, I realized, hey, healthcare is very important. But I think one of the important things I realized most of all was all of us in the service, depending on our background, of course, talking Navy, Air Force, we can't even talk to each other a lot of times, because that's a bulkhead, that's not a wall.
Yeah, right.
I got to use the latrine, well, I got to use the head. Well, it's the same, But there's one term that everybody in the service uses that we all learned across the different branches, and that's preventive maintenance. Everybody knows PMCS, preventive maintenance checks and services, or just preventive maintenance. And everybody speaks that language, and we all know that that's one of the first things they drill into you in the military is, hey, it's not about you. You soldier, sailor, airman first, right, or always. But hey, it's mission first, equipment. So the first thing you always do is take care of your equipment, whatever's been issued to you, your weapon system, communications, whatever. But you gotta do regular checks and services, blah blah blah. Well, it's funny because they have a thing in medicine called preventive medicine. Sounds a lot like preventive maintenance.
It does.
And so it wasn't a big leap for me, as an infantry guy, like, oh yeah, I get it, right? Same thing. So if you think of this as an operating system, it's got to be regularly maintained, right? You don't wait till it breaks down. You don't wait till you're non-functional.
You tell them the truth too.
Yeah. This really does hurt, and you don't have to worry about it anymore because it's not going to. Sometimes active duty doesn't affect you. I don't want to tell them about that because it might affect my career. But
you just get your help that you need.
Oh, and that's the greatest part of going to the VA. In the past, so when it was just on Blue Cross or whatever, on our family plan. Something's going on, or I've got back issues and I need to get therapy. Well, I know that the initial visit, Blue Cross, they'll cover, because I have great health care with Blue Cross or whoever it happens to be. That great health care will cover maybe half of that, but then I'm on the hook for the other half. I got to pay the big deductible. And then guess what? If I need to get extra lab tests done or therapy, go to physical therapy visits, I'm going to get nickel and dime for each of those. Whereas at the VA, they don't charge. There are none of those extra fees. They don't charge any extra fees. There are no deductibles. There are no premiums at the VA. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's very little that, with my income, I pay a little here and there for this and that. For office visit copays, a copay, different from a deductible, but office visit copays, if you're making decent money and you qualify for VA care, that's great because that's about all you're ever going to get charged.
Yeah.
But for big things, surgeries, all these things, $0 for all that stuff. Big one, for seniors, for senior veterans particularly, what about hearing aids?
Oh yeah.
How much are you paying for hearing aids in the community?
Big money. I see bills come through to my office under Chapter 115.
Working with your seniors,
$4,000 is a discount. They're doing them a favor by charging them $4,000.
As a discount, right. Guess what? VA, almost $0 for those things. For the same state-of-the-art, high-tech hearing aids.
Fitted to you, it's amazing.
Batteries for life, support, technician support for life.
Replacement.
You never get them replaced. You never pay for that stuff. We're talking things like that, tens of thousands of dollars of savings. And people say, well, I've got great insurance. I'm already, Again, you're paying out the nose for that, and you're going to keep paying and keep paying and keep paying when you could be going to the VA, getting the same or better care and paying like $0.
Right. Yeah. No, the durable medical equipment, in the VA, it's not just a hospital setting. I mean, you drive through Brockton campus at least, there's fields, there's walking trails, there's exercise equipment outside, there's outdoor exercise equipment that it's your own body weight.
Got a swimming pool. We got a swimming pool,
a gym. Yeah. It's pretty amazing to see the services offered. I mean, they have residential programs, outpatient programs. It's really runs the whole gamut of what there is.
I think the simple way to think of VA care essentially is it is brain surgery to flu shots.
Yeah.
Or everything and in between. Flu shots to brain surgery. VA provides any care that anybody might possibly need. If we don't have it in-house, which around this in the Boston area, we have massive coverage on almost every field and specialty.
Right.
But if it's not immediately available within the VA care system, the VA will pay for that in the community. It's called care in the community, or community care, office community care. And let's say there is something you need, and even if VA has it, for example, acupuncture. We do cool things like acupuncture.
That's right. I've actually done acupuncture at the VA.
There
Pretty
you go,
awesome.
Right? And a lot of places you can't get your insurance company to pay for that. VA will offer that in-house. But let's say your primary care at the VA says, let's get you acupuncture. Oh, guess what? No appointments available, maybe not in the near term.
Right.
But if that's the case, and if you need it, then VA says, we will pay for that. We'll find a cooperating partner in the community, and we'll pay for you to go get into the community or wherever it's nearest for you to get it.
So on that concept of the community care, but a little off that subject, we have so many VA. It's like everywhere you turn, you have a VA in whatever direction you end up heading, right? Around here in Massachusetts, I feel it's pretty amazing.
Well spaced, pretty strategically located in the sense, the Boston network, we've got the 5 clinics right around the area. So Long Pond Road down here at Plymouth right there.
Yep.
And then, of course, the big campus over here at Brockton, talking locally. But they're scattered around strategically, right?
Yeah.
So that they can get, and then the towns are so great at providing the ride services to get senior veterans or folks that are having struggles getting in. But if you can get to the Brockton campus, let's say the specialty you need is up at Jamaica Plain or the audiology clinic there, or you need to go to West Roxbury to the flagship hospital. There are shuttles that go from the Brockton campus, on the hour back and forth to these different facilities throughout the day anyway.
I have a lot of clients who use that service because we, here in Easton, under the Health and Community Services Department, we provide transportation to bordering towns and within Easton. So being that the Brockton VA is a bordering town, we can provide transportation to that location, and then you catch the shuttle from there, and it seems it couldn't be much easier. Yeah. It seems like it works well.
And just a note again, for folks that have thought about this, and it's amazing how many people sit on the fence in the sense of, oh, I heard about it, but, and it ranges from a number of reasons, and some of them are good reasons. The first thought is, hey, when I went in the military, first thing they teach you, it's not about me. It's about that guy and that gal on my left and my right, my shipmate, my squadron mate.
Hear that all the time.
We take care of each other first, then we worry about ourselves. And really great Americans, veterans who have it in their minds. Oh, hey, I don't want to take a scarce resource from my fellow veterans. I don't want to be hogging resources that somebody really needs. Well, guess what? Any one of us that served, anybody that ever raised their hand and took that oath, we're the ones that are in need in that sense. That huge benefit is there.
Right.
And the challenge is getting veterans sometimes to step forward and taking advantage of this simple, huge benefit that either they weren't aware of or they have it in their mind that they don't want to take it from somebody else.
Right.
Because this is the kicker, by not using a care system, it actually diminishes our ability to take care of veterans. It hurts the veteran community.
Yeah.
If you're a veteran and you're not using VA care, you're actually hurting, and you could be using it. You actually kind of, I will say, in a sense, it harms the veterans community because by not using that resource, we know what happens when the government has a resource and it's not used or consumed.
Leftover money,
right? It's like, I guess they don't need it, right?
Yep, that's right.
So I'm not saying that we're not closing any doors or anything here soon, but there is that concept. The more fully funded we are, the more able we are to continue to provide these great services. Yeah. But it really does take every veteran. Even if you've got great quality care somewhere, I know we're going to talk about that in a minute too, but you don't have to give that up, and you just coming in for a physical once a year, preventive maintenance checks and services. Come
Stay
in
on
once
the
a year
books.
to the VA. Go to your regular doctors or do whatever else, but come in and get it checked out, and then a lot of times you find out, wow, I really like this place, I really like these people, and hey, I can be doing the same thing here that I'm paying big bucks for on the side. Yeah, let me just do it over here at the VA.
Definitely, and I can't tell you how often I hear that, I don't want to take from the next guy or next girl. And, I don't want it to mess up with the current insurance I do have and things like that. All these common misconceptions that I end up having to, explain to folks. And I am very careful the way I recommend things. Here are your options. You make the choice. Yeah. But the reality is having VA care in addition to whatever other care you have will not negatively impact you in any way as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and again, it was one of those things of, how exciting is it to talk about, healthcare, insurance payments, and cost analysis between the two. It's like,
you just want to get it over with.
But the cool thing to understand is that essentially, if you have insurance, it's most of us. That's the thing. Most of us in this area, most folks around here. Were employed or are employed, fairly well employed, and they have great insurance. Not realizing if you're a veteran, you can use VA care. That's going to be almost anything you can get anywhere else. But folks have that in their mind, and you can then find out and start using VA care. And what they'll do with insurance, again, if you have great insurance, that's fine. So like with our plan, if I get something done at the VA, they will charge our insurance company.
I have that as well.
Right.
Yep.
But it doesn't go against me.
Right.
They can't charge me a deductible for that.
Right.
They can't. The
Copay,
insurance company can't.
yep.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, unless you're
the
eligible.
office visit copays.
Sure.
That's a little different thing with the VA. But in terms of those, it's those big deductibles, and of course the premium. There's no premiums at the
Right.
VA. That's a huge thing. And then, but as you do that, for example, my insurance company will say, if I get a procedure done at the VA, they bill my insurance company, they pay
Right.
the government back. That's great because we're
Yep.
paying back into the system, making them pay back into the
Right.
system. But when my insurance company then sends that statement of account and says, oh, we only covered 50%, and so you're on the hook for the other 50%, well, guess what? VA says, nope, no, you're
Right.
not. They write
Yes.
that off. VA
Yep.
says, no, we're not charging you for that because you're a veteran, you're getting care here, blah, blah, blah.
Right, and the VA goes to Blue Cross and says, hey, we have X amount of your veterans on our care.
Yeah.
We've been using these services. Here's your bill for those services, and it works nicely. I personally, I'll use myself as an example. I have insurance through my employment with the town of Easton, right? So that insurance is used to, for my wife and my children.
Right,
so,
right.
So they use that, and I use the VA. I have
Because
access.
your VA
Right.
covers you as the veteran, but not your family.
But not them.
Yeah.
So, it was the option to buy the family plan for the insurance, and that's what we did. So I will say my own experience has been, I had a primary care practitioner who, we didn't see eye to eye on certain things. I requested a reassignment. I got a reassignment.
Yeah.
Who was a nurse practitioner, turned out to be the best doctor, well, not doctor, nurse practitioner, but best care provider I've ever had.
Yeah, it's not like you're in the service and they're
Right.
telling you, all right, troop, that's your doctor,
Yeah.
don't complain. Well, you got a problem, do push-ups,
Right.
No, it's not that at
No,
all.
it's-
Exactly, you can say, hey, this maybe not working so well, can I
Yeah.
get somebody else? And it's almost never a problem. Yeah, sure, let's
Absolutely. No, and I've had nothing but good experiences, but it's all good. So I think, is there anything else to say about those folks that have insurance pre-existing, why they wouldn't join the VA?
Yeah, and sometimes it comes down to the end of folks, it's a question of, well, government health care, maybe
Sure.
it's not so great. I got to tell you, and just like you keep saying over and over, it is top of the line
Yeah.
care. Are there issues? Do people screw things up? Yeah, they do
And-
that
yeah.
everywhere. They did that to me in, in the other hospitals I've been to as well.
Absolutely.
But by and large, we try to own that, accept it. If we screwed something up or whatever, we're going to try and make it right. But when it all comes down to when it's all said and done, veterans have said over and over again in these big national surveys, these Rand Corporation surveys, that veterans rate their care at the VA as high or much higher than any care they've gotten in the civilian community. Veterans that use the VA will tell you, I can take 95 out of 100 veterans that use VA care, and you can ask every one of them, and they'll tell you, those 95 vets will say, you know what, yeah, I would absolutely use VA care any day of the week. I'd
Yeah.
rather go there than anywhere else. And then there's a few that
Sure.
whatever reasons, they had bad experience and et cetera. But when so many folks are saying that it's that good, there's something good, really good going on there.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And it's not like they're charging you millions to try it out.
No,
there's
that's the thing. You get somebody in,
There's little to
as
no
you
risk of-
enroll in VA,
yeah.
and I say, look, you know what? Go in there, get your
Yep.
you want to get a good primary care doctor or physician just to lock into, so that you can start accessing everything else that's out there. But you know what? Go there, check it out. If it doesn't smell right, don't
Yeah.
taste right, whatever,
Exactly.
you can walk away.
Yep.
You're not out of thing.
Keep your
Nobody's after
private-
you. You didn't
keep
pay
your
a
private
premium.
plan simultaneously.
Yeah, and that's all well and
Yep.
good. But I'll tell you what, again, over 90% of the time, I can just pretty much guarantee that you're going to like what you find there, probably to the extent that, like in my family, once my dad started using VA care, this is 20 years ago, he's dropped all his other care. He won't go anywhere else.
Right. So it's almost
that's great.
the
That's
high-
out in Kansas City, VA.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Probably completely different world out there.
Same quality care everywhere you go. And that's the thing, that this is standardized care. Kind of an interesting note too, talking about quality of care at the VA. One of the more interesting things I found out, we know America is such a great place, and the United States has this great reputation for providing the best health care in the world. So people travel here from all over the world to get their special treatment, et cetera. They'll come here to the United States. But why is that? Well, who trains the American caregivers? The VA trains and sets the standards for over 60, almost 70% of all the caregivers in this country.
Wow, I didn't know that.
They're all trained. They have all walked through the doors and spent any number of months training at the VA, getting these high standards. The VA sets those high quality standards, and that mitigates out to the civilian care community. But it's at the VA where they set those high standards.
Oh, I believe it. And what I've heard recently, especially with the COVID, pandemic and everything surrounding, providing booster clinics has been exceptional over at least at the Brockton campus is what I've heard. People, they drive through, they get their booster, and they continue on. It's just, they've said it's a seamless process, and
and there's always the thought to, well, I don't know about this stuff or how valid it is. And I'll tell you what, folks, I don't know about you, but military guy, I'm used to nuclear chemical biological warfare. That's a real deal.
Yeah.
All the stuff they taught me in the Army about this stuff was the same thing today. You got a distance, you got to, short of decontamination, but that's what we're doing, decontamination at home, washing your hands. Those same principles in the military, this whole COVID business, again, it's not related to anybody's political beliefs or whatever. It just is. Mm-hmm. And what the VA has done is to make it real easy. If you have served, man, you get to get right in line and get it done. So I think my dad was one of the first ones. He's probably the first 2 or 3% in the country to get that shot as an elderly citizen. It was a great thing, but because he's a veteran, he and my and the VA opened up. By the way, they were common sense. Because normally VA care is reserved for the veteran.
That's right.
But when it came to the COVID, and still when it comes to COVID vaccines, et cetera, the VA early on said, no, you know what? Come on in. Guard and Reserve, maybe you can't use VA regularly. It's not a healthcare system you can use. But you know what? You still serve. We're still backing you up.
That's awesome.
You come on in here. If you ever raised your hand and took that oath, served in uniform, we'll let you get the shot. Get on in here. So we started early on getting folks in the door back.
I get text messages that say a clinic is happening at this location. I even got one that said it's canceled for this day.
Yeah, which is nice to hear before you show up.
I know. And to do that for such a large population, I mean, how many people receive that message? It's, in the tens of thousands, 20,000, 30 or more. And it's pretty amazing to see. And the fact that they opened it up to spouses to receive the vaccine as well, I think that's outstanding.
Yeah, and that is the one thing about VA care in the sense of, like you were talking about earlier, on the same situation where, if you're married, et cetera, you have a family, you have dependents that you need to care for, well, then you do need to have an insurance plan that cares for them. Veterans that have serious or high service-connected disability, 100% service-connected veteran. Now the VA actually does cover their dependents' medical costs too, so which is kind of cool. The VA actually does provide for medical care for family members, dependents. That is
through CHAMP VA.
Through CHAMP VA.
Great.
If the veteran has like 100% service-connected disability. But
no, that's amazing.
It's a lot more rare, but it is there. But otherwise, man, just getting everything done. And again, the stress it takes off of me as a veteran, I mean, you and I both, we know, it used to be that, well, I've got all these back pains, this and that, and if I go in, I got to look at our budget, what's coming up in the next few months, what are our expenses, because I really want to get this therapy, but I know I'm going to have to start paying out each month for treatments and for going to physical, And with the VA, that's all washed away. That's not a consideration. If I got something bugging me, man, I just pick up that phone, call 800, get a hold of my primary care, and they've got me going over here to physical therapy, got me checked out over here, pain management, all this stuff. Hey, you need this? You need orthotics for your shoes?
Right.
Free of
So
charge.
there's probably nothing in the medical field that the VA does not do. Is that?
That's absolutely right. Like I said,
It's amazing.
brain surgery to flu shots. Yeah.
And I know, I mean, they do outdoor activity. I saw a trailer parked outside the Brockton VA. They do, trips and recreational activities.
Oh, man,
and
all this stuff.
kind of like being back on active duty, huh? You got the MWR.
Exactly.
It's pretty
awesome.
awesome.
I've often said this, like the campus-style places, like the Brockton campus or Bedford VA campus, and it's like going. It was designed like a military post.
Yeah.
Got the PX over there. You got the
it looks like it even looks like
there. Yeah, you got the flag. We do the colors every day.
brick buildings.
But they have. coming into is exactly right. When you come into the VA, you tap into all these things. You need to find out about all these activities. And, you know, for example, we do the big Veterans Expo over here at the Brockton campus, or pre-COVID anyway. Hopefully it'll come back this year. But you get 60, 70, 80 groups out there and agencies where they do fun things. All our community partners, and these are all these non-governmental agencies as well as state, federal, local folks that provide cool things for vets and families. And when you come into the VA, you find out about that stuff. And for folks that are challenged or having, not able to go out and do some of these things. My dad is 90 plus, he's a World War II veteran. So I showed up late. I was kind of the surprise after they had all their other kids and I showed up. And so they're in their 90s. And mom and dad met at the USO. He was an Army Air Corpsman and he got stuck in a little town in Kansas. And the sheriff sent him down to the USO, and there was my mom hanging out with all the other town girls, right? So he came back after the war. He found her, and they got married.
Wow, that's awesome.
But he was able to find out things like, as he lost his vision, that was a huge thing. And he's like, where am I going to get support, for any of this? What am I going to do? And I think he was thinking about, hey, this life is just not so good anymore. The VA stepped in, did everything for him, trained him on everything, and took him to a sports clinic where they're going to take him downhill skiing as a blind at the time.
I've seen that at the mountains.
75, 80 years old,
They have vests on that say blind skier.
So they'll take you out with somebody, and just phenomenal programs.
Oh,
absolutely,
gosh.
Absolutely true.
And that's all at the VA.
They have the sports clinics,
Wow.
They take, you can go kayaking, as you mentioned some of these things. And
very cool.
Yep, a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So, and finally, this has been very informative. Finally, what would be a piece of advice you'd give to a newly returning veteran or a veteran who's gone years and years without even exploring any of these benefits that are available?
Well, I guess I'd say get her done, right? And the famous words of that. I kind of think of it, so when I was going through airborne school many years ago now, and I'm down at Fort Benning, Georgia, and they're the black hats, the drill sergeants of airborne school, they're screaming at you. But you're going through different training stages, and you're a bunch of young kids, and you're scared and getting ready to jump out of a C-141 or C-130, and talk about the reserve. You got this reserve chute, because if your main chute failed, man, this is your one chance to stay alive. And I remember one of the kids looked over to the sergeant and he said, Hey, Sergeant, how much time do we have, before we have to pull it? In other words, when are we going to hit the ground? How much time do I have before? He says, boy, you got the rest of your life to pull that reserve.
Okay.
It's like, well, what does that mean? Well, that means do it now, right? So, folks, you got the rest of your life, but why do you want to take that chance, or why miss out on this great opportunity?
Absolutely.
Do it now. Get it done. Check in here with the VSO. You can check in, connect with me at the VA, but we'll get you, we'll find out where you're at and see if you can get enrolled and get you rolling on to the best care anywhere.
Absolutely
is.
So you can enroll, like I said, I walked in with DD-214 in hand, photo ID, to my nearest VA, which was Brockton VA, the main building. And I went into the eligibility window and did that there. You can also enroll, I'm sure you can do it online at some point. Is there?
Absolutely.
So
it's a little trickier, and but I highly encourage you if you're technically savvy, go ahead and do that. Or a lot of times, I think it's great if they're here too. They can step in, and sit down with you.
Oh yeah, I have applications as well. I have
got it all set. Yeah,
got it ready to go. So we'll get you hooked up. Just so make the time to take advantage of these benefits that you've earned. Thank you, David. I appreciate your time.
Roger that. Hey, thanks for serving, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
One team, one fight.
Absolutely.
Right? Well.
Right. Thank you for tuning in and learning about the amazing benefits that are available to our veterans. If you have any specific questions regarding your eligibility, please reach out to your Veteran Services Officer located in your town or city hall. If you live in Easton, please reach out to me and I'd be glad to help. I can be reached by email at cahonen@easton.ma.us or by telephone at 508-230-0690. Also, be sure to check out the other videos in this series that outline numerous other benefits that are available to our veterans. As always, thank you for your support and continued service to our veterans.